Hello, my Copic coloring, stamping, all of you friends out there. I am going to be coloring up another image from Rubbernecker Stamps, and you are either tuning into this video on the Rubbernecker YouTube channel or Copic in the Craft Room channel on YouTube. So welcome to either group of you. This stamp is Murray with catch. And it's this fun older gentleman with his very small catch. He looks a bit disappointed. I think that's kind of the point. This is a nice thick red rubber stamp. So you get some beautiful kind of crisp, clean stamping on that. I have not selected any colors yet, but I do want to make him look a little bit older. And so I'm going to kind of gray down some of his skin tones a little bit by doing some under painting or underwashing with color. So I'm actually going to use a BV20 to start on his skin. And I'm going to go into those areas where I think he's going to be pushed back. So it's going to be areas that would normally be the darkest on his face. So into some of those deeper wrinkles. And then kind of under his lip there. And then a little bit on the neck, up to the sides, kind of that crinkle on the top of his nose, very under side of those hands. And I'm going to start with that. I'm going to do him kind of a mid-range skin tone. I'm not going to go for super dark. So I'm going to base this in an E50. So I've underpainted, and really within my first coat, I'm going to go over the entire area. So it's going to soften those edges, and because it's that BV20, we might see that turn a little bit blue. Oftentimes with skin, I will actually base the lips in that same skin tone. I try to avoid the eyebrows, only if I know I'm going to go lighter with the hair tone. And in this case, I might be, since he is an older gentleman. So I'm going to leave the eyebrows open for now. And I'm going to apologize. I'm going to probably slip outside the lines a few times. My eyes are not being very user-friendly today. So E11 is going to be next. Now we want to think about kind of the shape of Murray's face, go into those wrinkles a little bit more, come kind of up and around, creating that little bit spherical dome at the top of his head, into those wrinkles, under the lip, under the nose. So a lot of his face is going to get hit with this mid-tone. The areas that I have not are the top of the ear. I haven't gone under his eyeglasses yet. So I'm keeping my skin tones kind of close by. There's a lot to think about here because it's such a small image. So I'm not thinking too hard on the eyeglasses yet. Kind of saving that. Bottom edges of the fingers into the center of the hand. All right. Yeah, that's pretty good. So he's got some highlight areas on his cheek, on the top of his head, top edges of those hands. I've left his lip that lighter color. Let's see. I'm going to use an E13 to finish him off. This is going to be the darkest color, and this again is going right into those darkest areas. So it's going to be some of those spots where I hit the BV initially. Into the ear, right on the outer edge of those cheeks, and into those deep kind of creases on his face, little wrinkles. It's got quite the pout going because of this fish. right up under the neck. And then I'm not going to do all the fingers, but I'm going to come right up underneath them and that bottom edge on his hand. Again, adding a little more shape each time, each layer. All right, so hitting reverse, going back to E11. Going to soften the edge of that E13 and pull it. I might end up pulling it out a little bit further onto those highlight areas in some spots just to get it nice and smooth if I need to. This is obviously a pretty small area to be working in. So there's not a whole lot of blending, especially with the E11. Stepping all the way back to the E50. And this is where I'm going to circle into some of those highlight areas. And I might need to darken those up even a little bit, but let's soften first. And we'll pull that mid-tone a little bit further, I think. The hands might be okay because there's so little left, but I'm looking at kind of the cheek and the top of the head, and I think we need to pull that E11 maybe the top of the ear. Looks bright white, even though that was certainly not the intent. There we go. That eyebrow got covered. Obviously it did. We'll have to lighten that back up if we need to. I'm really just circling between those skin tones to find that balance. The other thing I can come back with is that blue violet too. So I think I'm going to do just a touch. Kind of into those deepest spots. All right. I'm pretty content with them right here. Let me blow them up a little so you guys can see them. So I did not do his glasses area. Behind there, we're going to do the E50. And we're going to do a tiny bit of the E11. What I like about this image is they've kind of shown how glasses sometimes, and I don't know if this was intentional, but it works. They kind of are showing you how glasses will sometimes kind of enlarge the eyes behind them. And so we've got that hint that that's what's happening here. All right, I'm going to keep his hair really, really simple. I'm going to grab a C1 and I'm going to put a few kind of dots, squiggles, and I'm going to do a little bit with C3. And I'm going to use the C3 as little eyebrows. I think it's just dark enough that it'll work on both of those. Yep. I'm going to come in on his lower lip, E93. And then E, just at the corners, E04. All right, You don't want him to look like he's got lipstick on, but even on a man that has a pinkish tone to it. So I think that suits a little bit better. So then we've got all of his clothes. So we get to kind of decide what he is wearing today. I think our gentleman has gone with some kind of drab colors for his fishing day, Mr. Murray. So I'm going to do some earth tones and kind of arrange here. I think let's do kind of a green fishing vest. I'm going to base it in E8-1. I'm also going to base that little fish out here in that E8-1 as well. And then we've got an E8-4. Going underneath the pockets, underneath the flaps. I hinted that the sun may be slightly over to the right-hand side by how I shaded his face. So I'm going to continue that on his vest because I went down the left side of the neck and a couple things there. So we'll continue that look. I would encourage people to not get overwhelmed with the lighting thing. And really, it's more about keeping it consistent throughout your image. So don't get so focused on there's an exact spot in order for it to work. It's more about consistency and creating shape. So understanding how to make something look round versus flat is more what you're going for, which is what is more important. That was an E8-7. So we've got this little series, E8-1, E8-4, E8-7. The fish over there only got the E8-4. I was thinking I might add a little bit of a fun color on him. So smoothing this out first, going back to my E8-4 and then E8-1. A lot of Murray if you wanted to do the reverse and go dark to light because there's such small detail areas. That would be an awesome idea. And in fact, I am doing another stamp from Rubbernecker in a couple weeks, another older person who is cooking, and maybe I'll make a point of doing her all dark to light instead and doing all of my Copic coloring in kind of the opposite order that I usually do, but a lot of people out there tend to work in. All right, vest, check. I think I'm gonna do his shirt like a chambray shirt, and so I'm grabbing a B91. So the 9-1s in the blue universe are kind of this nice washed down. Oops, I missed something on the vest. I just realized the vest has a collar. But the B9s are kind of this very desaturated, which means it has gray added into it. So it's this nice desaturated color. And then I'm going to do tiny, tiny bits of a little B93 or B95, sorry, B95, just in some key points. we'll go back and get that collar on the vest. Sorry about missing that. Until I started this, I didn't really see it. All right, so I want to smooth that out, but what I really want to do, and see, now I'm missing things as I'm rushing to get back. Slow down, Michelle. I'm going to soften that. And then in order for this to look a little more like washed chambray, which that's kind of the beauty of a chambray, is it's kind of worn and soft looking and feeling. I'm going to use a little bit of colorless blender. And if you're patient, it's actually better to do this as it dries or when it's drier. And what you're going to do is kind of wash into, not across the whole thing, but right into the tops of those highlight areas, kind of circle just a little bit. And it gives it this kind of worn look, which is really nice and perfect for denim and chambray. Chambray. All right. Okay, so what we didn't get, let's see, is the collar on the vest. So we'll go over the blue. That's going to end up darker anyway since it's on the back side. This is that E81. I'm going to do E84 to fill in that back side and the underside going behind his neck. Little touch of E87. Come back the E81. All right. So working our way down, still continuing on. I think let's do oh, that is true. We could make that. We can make these kind of waders. So we could go with like a darker kind of gray or deeper green. Let's do a green. All right. But we've got the fishing pole, so I'm going to do an E31 really quick and an E35. A lot of times it has kind of almost a cork taper appearance, so we're going to go with kind of those colors. And over on our little fish, I'm going to do something kind of funky. I'm going to give him a little blue-green along the top. Come back with that E81. There we go. And I'm going to do, all right, so we're going to do some darker green here. And we need something darker here. I'm thinking even just a darker gray for that pole. Slowly. Remember, if the pressure control is an issue and you feel like your line gets too thick and bumps out, try using, excuse me, try using the broad nib, that chisel nib. And a lot of times people find they have more control with that because it's stiff and you can get up on one of those little corners. So I'm not going to try to shade that. No, but I need to find Ooh, even maybe, what about, this might be kind of cool. You're like, we have no idea what you're looking at, Michelle. We don't know what's kind of cool. Give us a little more of a hint. I'm thinking a blue-green combo for the waders. And it's going to look kind of like what I'm putting on his. And see, this is the one part I'm going to add just a tiny bit. Shading. So that is a BG 93 and a BG 96. Let's go ahead and get his waders. So he obviously was out in the river today doing some fishing. Turn him slightly. This is a great spot that if you wanted to break out that chisel or medium broad nib and fill this in, it goes pretty quick. It's kind of a big open space, so it works pretty well. If you're curious about why I'm jumping back and forth on the name of that nib, if you are looking to buy it, it is officially called the medium broad nib. But if you are a crafter who's been around for a long time with Copic, a lot of us call it, or have been calling it, a chisel nib because that's the shape of it. So I kind of jump back and forth between the two names just so you know what I'm talking about. But I also want you to know that it's called a medium broad nib because if you go to order it, you are not going to find a chisel nib. There is no such thing on the ordering area. So just be aware of that. We'll put some wrinkles and bends. His legs are long cylinders, so the shading, when we have space for it, comes in from both sides. We have room for it here. And then I am going to re-accentuate some of that, especially on his left leg, where it comes out from behind the right. This is BG 99. It's very close, very, very close to the BG 96. So you're not gonna see a huge difference of this, but I'm just using it in less amounts into some of those darkest areas. All right. If you need to step back to the BG 96 to do a little blending, you may or may not need to do that in some spots. This actually kind of blended in on its own, so I really don't need to go over it. And then the last thing I will do is step back to the BG 93. Now, remember with Copic, if I come back in with another layer of my lightest color, the whole thing gets darker. So I have to plan on that. Know that that's going to get darker because I've put another layer of ink. It is the same color, but it's still a second layer or third or fourth of that same ink. And so it is going to appear darker. It'll lighten up a bit as it dries, but all right. That is pretty darn fun. Couple fun touches you could do. I'm going to add, because I'm just that ridiculous. Like that color for the fish. Yep. That was the BG93, sorry. A couple of fun touches you could do. You could take a glitter pen or something and add like a touch of sparkle to the fish for a little like hint at scales. You could do a glossy accents over the glasses. I did want to share too, because I haven't been doing full cards. I don't have my die cut machine with me this summer, but this particular stamp, get him centered, sorry about that. This particular stamp comes with a matching, or can come, you can also order the matching die cut. So if you're a person who likes having the matching set of die cut plus stamp, this is an option in Murray with Catch. Thank you so much for joining me as always today. In particular right now, if you are curious about live classes, please stop by my blog. If you have not already, please sign up for my newsletter. The people that are signed up for that are going to know as things change first. At this time, I still have some live classes scheduled for the fall, but we are taking them one by one. And if I lose too many of them, I will probably be switching to an online format. If you're interested in that, you need to sign up for that email so that you can be kind of in on the know. Otherwise, I will have stuff posted at my blog and at Copic in the Craft Room on Facebook as well. Thanks so much for stopping by, no matter where you are catching this video, at Rubbernecker or at Copic in the Craft Room. It has been my pleasure. Have a happy, healthy, colorful day.